an issue is something which has really disturbed me for a very long time. And I think more than just the aspect of the violence, which is of course completely unacceptable, I think what I find most distressing and disturbing is this entire web of secrecy and deceit to cover up the problem. And it is most disturbing because this web of cover up is initiated not by the abuser but by the victim, almost as though it is them who has something to be ashamed of or feel guilty about. And I used to always think about, they say officially, they say 1 in 3 women in India do face some kind of domestic abuse. So when you're thinking of the number of children who are living in these very traumatic conditions, it's just terrible. And very often people living in abusive situations, there is a kind of passive acceptance of it, which is so incomprehensible that I'm not judging it, but it is incomprehensible. So why would somebody feel that it's okay to be abused? So I did feel that there's something has to change in the equation, especially where the child is concerned. That they don't have to feel that this is my lot, I have to just passively accept whatever happens, and I do not have the power to change anything. So while this would have probably worked itself into some story at some point, the actual impetus came when Pratham Books invited me, and I spoke to my Pratham Books editor Yamini, and she said that would you be interested in writing for us, and would you be interested in writing something which develops the emotional intelligence of the child. So this was an opportunity being offered to me, and fantastic opportunity because I really like this format of the illustrated story. I thought it worked perfectly for this issue. So I was given this opportunity and I kind of seized it with both hands, and that's how this book happened. So of course, the main aim was to make the story relevant to the child. So when I was deciding on the approach, the first thing I thought is, what is the main takeaway for the child once they've read the story? So I thought it is to make the child feel that I have the right to be safe and secure, especially in my home. And secondly, to offer the child a hope that you do not have to stay passive in this situation. There are avenues of help, and you can reach out to trusted adults, you can reach out to your teacher or principal. So this was the main takeaway I wanted for the child. And then 2 things which I didn't want to do is, I didn't want to include alcoholism in the story. Though alcoholism and domestic violence are quite linked, but I didn't want to touch on that aspect. I just wanted to touch on domestic abuse. And also I didn't want to set the story in an affluent home, because I wanted the child from, say, even a rural school to feel that, okay, this could happen to me, and I could also find a solution. So that's how I approached it. Actually, it went through quite a lot of ups and downs. So initially, as I told you, I didn't want to set it in an affluent home. So the first version of the story I had set in a fairly poor household where the father of the abuser is a daily wage labourer. And so then I sent the draft to Pratham Books, and they said, yeah, we like the story, but we really are very hesitant that you have set it in such a economically disadvantaged home, which is because there's already this preconceived notion that domestic violence is a problem associated with poverty, which is not true. So I thought that was a very valid point. So I actually reworked the story. So when I say rework the story, obviously it cannot mean just some cosmetic changes. I had to rewrite it substantially. Then of course, I think this is the one project I've just so enjoyed working on, because my editor Yamini was so particular that every single aspect of it must be perfect before we upload it. So, over the years, I've written for children for over 20 years. So, I have kind of accumulated a lot of writerly yarn of my own, And to give you an example, like if you have to introduce 4 children, you can't introduce them all at the same time, because everyone will be very confused. So, one of these writerly norms which I had set up for myself is in a story of about 1,000 words, you should only develop, say, 3 to 4 main characters. So typically I would just give generic names to the others, Royal Cook or whatever it was. And I did exactly the same with this. So I had only developed the 2 children and the shopkeeper who intervenes. And obviously Yami felt terribly uncomfortable with this, because especially in a story of this nature, here was I calling Murugan's wife, and the mother of the children as Valli and Ramesh's Amma, which is completely not acceptable. So she said, no, come on, why don't you individualize? So I actually then individualized, I think, 6 of the 7 characters, and it had worked out very well. So it was, that I had all these notions, it just got shaken up and appended, but it worked out very well, I think, because of the illustrations. You're working in this illustrated storybook format, so it was easy to individualize the characters because they had this visual representation as well. So actually, thinking of the resolution to this story was something very, very difficult for me, because typically in a children's story, what I have always done certainly is there's a mystery, the mystery is solved. There's an adventure, it reaches a conclusion. There's a conflict, it's resolved. But here I knew that if I had to preserve some kind of authenticity to the story, I could not really show this man being transformed. So what I did instead is to show the transformation in the children and the mother. So actually when the story starts, they're despairing, they just feel so hopeless. And there's this beautiful illustration by the illustrator, Aindri Chakraborty. This is such a beautiful picture where it shows the despair and the illustration. So through the story, through their actions, it moves to the children feeling a sense of hope at the end. It does not show that the man has changed, but they have approached somebody in their family, and this is the illustration of the brother and sister. There's a hopeful, almost a joyful aspect. So it is an open-ended ending. We don't know when is the change going to happen, but it just leaves a possibility, yes, the change is possible.